What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And this one's kind of crazy. Have you ever been scrolling on the internet? You saw something you didn't really agree with and you were like, oh, that's weird, or oh, I don't really like that, or oh, whatever, right? You get the point. After you see that post, you take it upon yourself to let the person know that you didn't really agree with what they were posting. No, you instead of scrolling past and ignoring, you engage and you comment. You leave a comment and you tell them that you think they're stinky and they suck. You could end up in jail for that. You could literally get in so much trouble for that. Especially if you end up on the show that we're talking about today. Trolls. We're coming for you. Yeah, I know it's a doozy, like I said. But if you're ready to get into it, like, comment. Be careful what you comment, okay? Subscribe, share, do all the buttons, click all the things, and let's jump right into it. Guys, I almost forgot to intro the video. Welcome back. I'm Snow1, and you're watching Totally Tubular. This is the show where I scroll on Tubi and I find something that's totally tubular. Just like the name suggests, and I come here and I talk about it with you. Get some snacks, some drinks, or maybe cook while you're watching this. Maybe do something else. I don't know. Just have fun and relax, and then keep watching the video. As a self-described exciting new series where Frankie Bridge, a semi-sort of popular reality TV show star and pop singer, after the turn of the modern era where cell phones and internet and culture is happening, you know, there was also rudeness and mean people and generally nasty behavior that you don't like to see online. These people were commenting mean things about her. She was the victim of cyberbullying, and now she stands up for other cyberbullies or other cyberbullied people. The crazy thing I want to talk about is, you know, I'm tripping over my words trying to not say it, but she kind of stands up more for the cyberbullies and more for the people who harass people online almost than the people who are getting bullied. And she does way more to protect the psyche and the mind state of the harassers than the people getting harassed. Like, it's really kind of weird to watch when you actually see it. It seems like it's gonna be this show where, oh, you know, we're gonna protect, you know, the people who are getting cyberbullied, and we're gonna show the cyberbullies that you can't do this and this isn't okay. And then what ends up happening is the cyberbullies just get the limpest slap on the wrist, and the people who get harassed have to live in fear that, you know, nothing is gonna change. And there are a few specific examples I really want to go over in this show, but there's a lot that happens in each episode, so I'm gonna go over it episode by episode, not faithfully, but enough to where you get the context and, you know, you can see what I'm talking about, because it's kind of crazy. She sets on this grandiose mission to help them. They get this super team, and it just doesn't work out. The follow-through is not there, and it makes for a good YouTube video. I think that's the best part of it. This was made in 2017, and off the bat you can tell that, you know, the internet culture isn't even as advanced as it is now. You know, it felt like the internet did this weird thing where from like the early 2000s there was this really advanced kind of strong internet culture from like the 90s and the 80s, and then in the 2010s it just kind of all got deleted and reset, and they were building this whole new culture. And then in 2015 everything reset again, and then in 2020 everything didn't like reset, it just like came back in a way. So weird. Everything happened and then didn't happen. Everything's happening, but it's a different point. You can tell that this is like an older show. They make the, you know, the internet isn't just cat videos and talking to your grandma, right? So, you know, and they talk about Twitter and tweets. Rip Twitter. Come and get a rip Twitter. I miss Fleets. Drop a comment if you miss Fleets. Oh my gosh, if you remember Fleets, like and subscribe. They need to bring Fleets back. They have this super team of detectives come in to support these random people who aren't celebrities and who would never get the chance to have their justice faced and have their wrongdoers face the light of day, right? They really make it seem like these are angels and they're coming in to save people. They get James and Ben and all these guys to come together and save the day. A lot of these guys are like actual police officers and their job is to find criminals and hunt down people like this. But what's happening is, the same failure of what's happening is the same failure of law enforcement that happens time and time again on TV show and in real life, right? Where it's like, oh, we're going to find the people who did this. We aren't going to bring them to justice. We are just going to find them. Although they claim they're going to bring them to justice, right? And they claim they're going to follow through on all this stuff. Because there's this huge intersection of internet culture and real life, especially in the UK. This is in the UK, by the way. They're filming in the United Kingdom. But they have all these weird internet rules in the United Kingdom about anonymity and what you can and can't do. We're seeing them at the crosshead here. And, because there's no law to prosecute and because there's no law to protect on the police side, there's nothing for the people to do. There's nothing for the police officers to do. So they get these people and they fail them. They get to these people and they just fail them. I think the worst part about all of this is that it just completely enables the stalkers and the creeps and the trolls online, because not only does it tell them if you stalk and you kind of troll these people to this very heinous high degree, you're going to end up, one, famous online, and two, videotaped and recorded and logged and talked about at length, right? So it just enables this behavior. Instead of telling them, oh, nobody's gonna pay attention to you, nobody cares about you, they actually end up doubling down and being like, people care so much about you. People are really people do long endeavors to try and find you guys and to shut you guys down. So it doesn't tell them that, their behaviors are being ignored and, that they aren't adding anything to society. They're being told that a lot of society runs around canceling and finding these guys, and that only strokes their ego, because not only are they showing the end results of all this harassment and all of these engagements that they have online, they're showing exactly what these trolls want, which is the reactions of the people. They're showing these families just like kind of damaged by these trolls, right? These mothers and fathers and families and brothers and sisters who get mentally worn down by these trolls on the internet. And these trolls, these sickos, these weirdos are like, yeah, now I know it works. And now I know they're not going to prosecute me. They're just going to find me. Oh well. And it's like, that's supposed to be the happy ending? You say that you're going to bring these people to justice. You say they're going to find where they are and end this once and for all. And then when you find them, you just kind of let them go. What? And now I'm supposed to feel great that, there's someone investigating and looking out for these cyber crimes. No, they aren't. You're clip farming me. Verbatim, she's like, trolling is another form of bullying, and you will not get away with bullying face to face or online. This really commandeering, cold command and veneer of terror and, trying to sell that, she's hunting these bad guys down. Like, she is the darkness, right? Like, this is Daredevil. No, fight somebody else, please. You are not capturing these guys. You're not doing anything. Please. I think one of the worst parts about this entire thing is that the first episode is so heavy and it's so serious. You load into it and you think it's like, oh, we're gonna catch this guy who won't stop making, silly little tung 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 horror memes about me. Oh, we're going to catch the guy who turned my high school principal into Charlie Kirk. No. The first woman, Denise Bolger, her son James Bolger died 20 years ago. And since his death, the people on the internet have been harassing her. For 20 years, people have been harassing her, talking about, oh, your son deserved to die. Oh, wow. Just like heinous things about this mother who obviously misses her son, who posted about it on the internet because she missed her kid. And everybody knows this is bad. Nobody needs to be taught how bad this is. But we're here 20 years out, and you're telling me nobody stood up for her? None of her internet friends? Nothing happened? That's crazy. And they literally do the thing where they make an account in that person's name and then say things about you in the hopes that, it triggers you, which is crazy because that is really triggering, and that probably would work, and it probably has worked a bunch of times. So they know exactly what works and doesn't work, and they're making the show and doubling down on the fact that these things work. They're literally saying, oh yeah, these techniques work, putting them on a broad stage and being like, trolls, don't do this. Hey, there's a big pot of gold down the street from your house, exactly a 7-minute walk towards the left. Do not go there. What? And the other woman, Nicola Brooks, she's been harassed by a gang of online trolls. They have like a troll clan, and they troll this woman. And even if you report this to the police, there's probably nothing they're gonna do because they don't take this crime seriously. They're like, oh, shut the computer off. Like, yeah, kind of true, but also you want to have the computer on. You have a computer because you want to use it, and you have Facebook and all these apps because you want to use them. And I bet she probably tried to find a new account or have an alt account. They just found it because, she's like an old lady and she doesn't really know how to use a computer and hide her identity well. Like, that's so messed up. What the heck? The other really scary part of this is that they kind of just stalk these trolls until they find them. They do this really serious OSINT. If you don't know what it is, here it is on the screen. And they do this really scary investigation where they have like weeks of, stalking their posts, seeing their pictures, seeing their backgrounds, studying their surroundings, looking up everything that relates to the account, everything that they've ever done, everything that they've ever posted on these alternative accounts. Like, they're combing through them. And then when they find a little bit of evidence of where they go, they send their investigator guy, and he literally just stalks them. What? The show is so scary. And it's not trying to be, it's trying to be endearing, it's trying to be serious. But like, you're showing me like, essentially like a spy movie, like a scary spy film with like these super high stakes, like a family who does not want to get involved with this at all, who is getting involved because the show is coming to them saying, we'll protect you, we'll take care of you. They're saying, okay, we'll protect and take care of you. And then they're doing all of this antagonism and like reaching out to these like trolls to get them to comment and to change their ways. Like, that's really intense. And nothing happens. It's so intense and nothing happens. Like, how do they manage to make like a super highly climactic show with no climax? Like, what were they thinking? I'm going to put up some of like the tweets and stuff that they're sending to this one guy, Chris, and talk a little bit about Chris. He's an X Factor guy who got famous on the internet. 15 seconds of fame. People found out about him. People hated him. And you can see all the heinous things they're saying, and it's like, what the hell? I mean, everybody knows that this is normal on the internet and this stuff happens, but the premise of the show, investigating it to this level and putting it on display, it's like, what are we doing here? I started this show hoping that it was just going to be a catfish kind of copycat duplicate show, like, oh, a bunch of episodes, a bunch of seasons, short, predictable plots, and it just keeps bouncing around. This is not what I signed up for, but it's so crazy. Like, I would have never expected this, like this unexpectedly dark show from Tubi. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? We're literally sitting here with Chris talking about how hard it was, how difficult it was for him to deal with all of these symptoms of abuse, and how much depression it caused him and his family to deal with this. And it's like, do you not recognize that this is just fuel for these trolls? Like, they've been saying for weeks and months how they want to injure and harm this guy, and now you're releasing this footage of him saying that he's been harmed and injured, and how long it takes him to recover each time he feels this harm and these injuries. And what were you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be helping him, and you're supposed to be helping him, and you're just giving these trolls like unlimited ammo to unload onto him emotionally. And they go on and on to make these people seem so powerful. Like, they have this confession from his mom, and his mom's like, it sucks because we don't know who these people are. We don't know how to find them. We don't know how to reach out to them to ask them to even stop or empathize with them. And it's like, so not only do you stroke their ego, you put fuel in their fire, and then you run and you turn to the camera and you're like, but it's okay, we're better than these guys. And you're really not. You're literally just using these people because, as you'll see later, like, they don't do anything to the trolls. Coming to get you, it's like, trolls, we're coming to document you. That's literally just sort of been called Trolls, a documentary, because they are not coming to get them. They are genuinely not. Chris literally went so far as to alter his face with plastic / reconstructive facial surgery to change his image. So hopefully he either would feel more comfortable and confident in himself, or to, you know, make sure people wouldn't recognize him anymore. And it's like, what the what the how can you do that? What? And then you're gonna ask me to sit there and empathize with him and ignore the fact that this is exactly what the trolls want. So James is their main cybersecurity expert. He works for cybersecurity, high profile cybersecurity funds and firms, and you know, he has the internet world on lock, right? He's that guy. He's hacking into the mainframe. Think James Bond. Literally, they're in Europe, right? So think the James Bond type, the hacker guy. So yeah, he's coming to get you. This is who they're sending to get you. It's James. And he's actually pretty good at his job, which is the scary part. Because they find most of these guys. And how they find these guys is just as scary, because they're doing the exact same thing that the trolls are doing to these people, which is, you know, stalking them and baiting them and engaging them to come out of themselves and to be perceived and attacked. They're doing like a little battle, a dance almost. Now you kind of have to lock in for me for this next bit, because like kind of a big trigger warning, and they don't do this on the show as well. They actually end up showing a lot of it on the show, more than what I thought they would. But it's kind of crazy graphics, so trigger warning. I'll probably put on the screen what is the content that we're triggering against. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. And yeah, that's crazy. She left a comment talking about the trolls and kind of engaging them. She was doing her own troll hunting, you know, she was fighting back, resisting, right? So she did her thing, and they immediately took notice. They're like, oh no, you're not supposed to do that. You. Yeah, we're not using that. But, you know, they started fighting back. They started talking to her, and they're like, oh, you want to go? Let's go. So one of the first things they sent to her, right? She still has it on her computer. It's loaded up. It's an image of her with her head photoshopped on someone else's body, kind of like an AI deepface choreography of graphic sex with a unalived body. Thanks, censorship. But wow. And then it keeps going, right? This isn't the end of it. It's not like that happened and it's like, oh, it happened one time and, you know, show's over. Sad story. No, they do this all the time. For like 5 years, she's been getting back-to-back harassed every day. They take shifts, you know, someone logs on, someone logs off, someone's checking the account, making sure, you know, that she's seeing these comments. They're like dedicated. It's so crazy. And I know that seems really bad, but that's not even like the worst of it. Although it could be, it depends on how you see it. I don't know if she called it the worst of it, but it's definitely really bad at that point. Going, right, they don't stop. They target her family, they target her daughter, they target her. They say things that she's, you know, she does child exploitation, you know, she's a sexual assaulter, she does all these things, she's like a super predator, you know. They say this about her. And they make these comments, and they take her likeness and name, and they make it seem like she's doing these evil things on the internet, and it's so intense. And they're gearing it up like they don't even have to gear it up that much. They're just kind of showing us. And as you know, most people react. The host is shocked, thoroughly shocked, and saying, wow, this needs to change. This, I can't believe we allow this. And true, but wow. It's just like, did we really have to show all of it? I think we got the point. You could have described it and we would have believed you. I'm sure a lot of you believe me now after just talking about it, but hopefully. That's so crazy. They show so much of it. They say that there are a lot of prosecutions for these cases, and that a lot of these cases do still come to court, but they don't really have a high, you know, positive outcome because they can't really secure the identities of these people. This is a special case where they have, you know, the money and the funds to go after a few of these trolls, so they're doing it to show that it's possible, but that doesn't really help the problem in the long term. It does an awareness campaign, but it doesn't really change anything because they're not actually changing anything, they're just doing an awareness campaign. And, you know, a lot of the ways they find these people is through their digital footprint and, you know, the kind of habits they've built up online after years of using, you know, the same or similar troll accounts, right? You build a habit, you have a style. Oh, we know that you like to end your post with an exclamation point. You make specific quotes about landmarks or things that happen in a town near you, and it's super easy to find, right? These guys aren't high level, you know, criminals. They're just internet trolls at the end of the day. But the show kind of elevates them to these criminal masterminds because they don't put the resources into capturing these guys, so they're allowed to do these things for a long time. For the Nicola case, they end up going after this one person by the pseudonym of Jamie Card, right? Jamie is often featured in a lot of their accounts, and Card is also featured in a lot of their accounts. So not like Jamie Card is their full name, but Jamie Card as a pseudonym, string of pseudonyms that they've mashed together, becomes this person, their main antagonist for this episode, right? So the pattern they've noticed of Jamie Card is, you know, attacking the victim, their family, doing a lot of violent imagery of, you know, gore and violence towards these people, and singling out their children, right? They go to these accounts, and, you know, if you happen to have your child featured on your account, or, you know, your family featured on your account, they definitely go after them. They definitely go and make a post like, hey, I was just at school with your daughter and evil thing happened because of me. Which, you know, wow, bad guy is bad, right? This guy is actually pretty malicious. I won't even make us like a light sarcasm of it. This guy's actually pretty bad. He does like a lot of pretty heinous things, which is kind of crazy. Like, I want to be, you know, more silly and more jokey about it, but this is actually like really serious stuff that they're talking about. Like, they managed to choose like the most serious cases for this. I'm like, okay, wow, freaking crazy intense for just like a random BBC show. What the heck? So now, about 20 minutes in, we're about the 17-minute mark. We're meeting Denise finally, and we're going over the story of her son James, who was murdered as an infant, and these trolls just clung to this like it's magnetic for them. And they talk about how these patterns of abuse continued with, again, infants and, you know, simulated infant violence on the internet. And it's like, I think a lot more of the energy that went into the production of this show could have went into like updating and making a case for stronger legal precedents and creating a better way of navigating the internet, you know, instead of just this like shock gore fest of violence and sadness and trauma, which is like super abundant in the show, super abundant. The Bolgers may claim or talk about having been notified about these bounty boards that exist on the internet where, you know, they target a parent, a charity, a fundraiser, and they, you know, the person who gets the most critical acclaim on the internet or, you know, in popular media gets a prize, right? Maybe they get some crypto, you know, they get a meme coin, or, you know, maybe everybody chips in and buys them a virtual video game or something, right? But that's insane. After knowing and learning this, you still continue to put these people's names and face and, you know, user account names on the internet so that way they can be rewarded, so that way more people can find out about this. Like, what part of the awareness cycle do you understand that your awareness can do harm as well? Because that's where this is leading. Like, that's where all of this is heading to. You know, we haven't gotten there yet, and I don't want to spoil too much. These guys don't do a very good job of catching the trolls or coming to get them, as they say in the title, which is very misleading. I mean, they literally track him. Holy They literally drag him, and they find him after doing some intense investigation, like detective work. I mean, they go to one guy's house and they do the oldest trick in the book. Like, they knock on the door, they say, "Oh, I lost my puppy. Will you take a picture of him so I know?" And they literally talk to the person to get the photo, to get a look of them, and it wasn't them. So they go to a soccer game and he's actually there. So they just follow him home. They wait till he goes home and they follow him home. Yeah, you should be careful with who you like talk to and mind your surrounding, because like a weird group of like quasi legal criminal investigators are gonna come and not do anything to you, so be careful. So we're introduced to one family, Jay and his father. Jay is a kid, you know, really hasn't done anything wrong, and his father is just worried about him because he was featured online and, well, he got attacked online as well. But because they live in Scotland and not England, they actually had some reprise. They managed to meet a troll, And, you know, he was regretful. Please forgive me if the audio is I will fix it later. It will be better the next time. Yeah. But because they live in Scotland and not England, they actually had a better time finding justice, I guess, and meeting a troll. But he was only really upset that he got caught, the troll, you know, that they caught him. And, you know, once he had to talk to somebody, he was obviously regretful. He's like, oh my gosh, I never knew it hurt somebody. Wow, right? Like, just copium, just like a super cop-out answer. But, you know, they're using this as like a test case to be like, see, it does work, so we will get good results. They don't. Because an actual law enforcement group enforcement, not to say law enforcement is good, but, you know, someone who does this a lot, hopefully, you know, actually went out and pursued somebody, not just like random people who have like zero interrogation skills. So, yeah, these guys are not the ones. I want to protect me from trolls on the internet. Sorry. I'd rather get an even max. Like, so we're leading up to the confrontation now, and they just have Ben on a stakeout. Like, he's literally sitting in his car waiting to catch the guy coming out of his house, just looking for the opportunity to see somebody jumping out of a car and say, that's them. That's the troll we've been looking for, and get them, like the show keeps telling us they're gonna do. So they're literally recording this over the span of like a few months. And over the course of like a few months, they managed to find 2 of these people. And after months of work, the kind of confrontations they have with these people just doesn't seem like 2 months worth of like planning and execution. Like, maybe, you know, they spend a lot of the time, you know, looking for them, but not thinking about what would happen when you actually found them. And you can just tell that things did not go how they wanted to. So the first kind of troll that we meet is named Gary. Gary is just a normal guy that they found off of the internet, and they said he seems like easy enough to reach out to and find, so we're gonna find him and kind of confront him for the show. So they literally do that. Gary, they kind of just wait for Gary to show up one day at home, and they go there with Chris Maloney, and, you know, Gary left a comment on Chris's Twitter like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you, bro. Like, oh, you're like literally just an extreme threat of violence. And after that, well, they took this as basis, you know, this is a real threat. We can treat this like a real threat. We're going to follow up on it. They're following up on it. They go to his house. Because these aren't law enforcement agents, because they aren't well trained, they stumble out of the car. They blow their entrance. Their cover's blown, and Gary has the ability to hide before they can confront him outside of his house. So he manages to get into his house, and they have to do this whole thing where they're talking to Gary's wife and trying to get him to come out. And we don't really know whether Gary is going to come out and whether they're going to actually have a confrontation, or whether they just failed and, you know, they got trolled in real life. So they end up calling him. They have his number. His wife, Gary's wife, gives Chris his number so he can call him and be like, hey, what's up? Miley, what's good? Like, they do that. So he calls him, they're talking, they have it printed, like they wanted to confront him and be like, did you say this? Was this you? You know, real chatty, real right? But it didn't work because they are not well trained. They did not execute this very well. He's hiding. He doesn't want to talk to them. But they end up calling. They're calling, and he's like, why did you say this about me? Why did you talk about me this way? What did I do to hurt you? And he said, you really didn't do anything. I was just kind of trolling on the internet, and I didn't think you would read it. So sorry, not sorry. And Chris has to live with the fact that this person who he built up in his head, you know, that these people were gearing him to confront and, you know, prepping him to face, just kind of didn't care about him, right? Like, the excuse he gave him was so nothing burger. He wasn't really interested in giving an answer because he didn't have an answer. This Greg guy didn't care about hurting his feelings or not. He was someone he saw on TV, and he made a stupid comment about him. But now Chris has to live with this, like, oh, I'm equally as insignificant as I am significant to this person. And for like years, I struggled with these comments of people who generally just don't care any other way about me. That's so terrible, because what? Seriously? That's the lesson that they teach us, is that, you know, there's no big payoff. You know, things don't really turn out how you want them to. And, you know, the ideas and things that you get in your head from people who bully you sometimes don't mean anything at all. And sometimes people just hate you because they hate you. What am I supposed to be learning here? How am I supposed to be defending myself? And you didn't even get this guy, Frankie. You literally didn't get him. You sat in the car. They went out to investigate him. They all went to confront him, and Frankie was sitting in the car. Frankie, you did not get the troll. I genuinely do not understand how Chris can get in the car, talk to Frankie, and be like, I feel so liberated. Frankie's sitting there, and she's like, how do you feel, Chris? How was meeting your troll over the phone? I mean, you could have messaged him on Twitter and it would have been faster and easier. And Chris is there like, you know, I needed this. I think my entire life was waiting up to this. I can feel myself just like growing and shaking with liberated energy. I'm so happy right now. And it's like, this has to be fake. Like, you can't be serious. You didn't talk to anyone, and everything that they told you what was going to happen was a lie. They told you to confront your bully. You did not confront your bully. You had to call him. You had to confront his wife, and his wife didn't even talk to you. They told you that things were going to change. They probably didn't change. You're probably still going to get hate on the internet for a long time. And you feel great? How do you feel great? I feel like that's so scripted. And if it's scripted, why would you script it this way? You can make him feel defeated that, you know, these people won't, you know, show their face to the camera and given their day in front of the judge and brought to court or something. But even still, that shows the trolls that psychological abuse is effective and it works. So what? He said sorry because they asked him to say sorry. They make it seem like, oh, he had this come to Jesus moment and he saw the light when he got the call. He was sitting there on the call just answering questions. So they asked him, don't you feel that, you know, Chris deserves an apology after saying these mean things about him and his family? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I guess. That's kind of messed up. Right? If they never asked him, he probably would have never ended the call with an apology. He wasn't gearing up towards it in the phone call. He was just like, well, I didn't think you would read it. Oh, you did read it? I didn't mean it. I guess I could have meant it, but not really. And then that's it. That's the phone call. And then he's overjoyed. He's so happy to have confronted and met his troll. You didn't meet anybody. You didn't confront anybody. You got lied to, and you're going to keep getting lied to on the internet.
On the slightest, no, because it just goes to show you that some people are just cowards. Yeah. Sorry I had to say that, but yeah, I think he's learned his lesson.
And it looks like Chris is right. Soon after.
The ending with Chris feels so scripted and forced. They say, like, you know, the troll reformed, he deleted his comments, deleted his page. I genuinely think they maybe got his page deleted or something to show, you know, because he didn't show any remorse in that call. He didn't care. And, you know, they have to have one good ending, because what happens with Nicola is just so bad. The way they handled this, just, it didn't work out for her. She's not a celebrity. She's supposed to show the normal people side of things, right? People who don't really have the public cares or opinions on their side, right? This is what a normal person goes through. And it sucks. And I guess that's like kind of accurate, right? Like being a normal person kind of sucks. But wow, they didn't have to highlight it again after continuously beating her while she was down. Like, they keep showing these worst moments of her internet life and how these people interact with her online. And then guess what? It continues to suck. It never gets better for her. Literally every time these confrontations happen, Frankie is sitting in the car. She does all this work talking to these people, and then when it finally comes time for them for, you know, be in a pretty stressful moment of their life, she's not there for them. She's just in the car waiting for them to come back and get the reaction. But why does she not go with them? She's been cultivating this friendship with these people for, you know, weeks to months, trying to find these people's abusers. And then the time comes when they come from the abuser and Frankie's just sitting in the car. And these people, they park so far away from the criminal. I know you have to wait and hide to stake out, but it's like, you don't have to park that far. They're parking so far, you can tell when 6 people are running towards you. So 6 people with big cameras and big whiteboards ready to ask you questions and a microphone are running up to you like, hey, do you have anything to say? You, sir, Lee, stop. If you're a troll and you know you comment heinous things on people's account, you're never going to stop for a camera. You're never going to be the type of person that stops for a street interview and says, let me guess your job. You're never going to get on the job ladder. These people never get on the job ladder, okay? It's for a reason. They don't want to be found. They don't want their face to be seen. The first thing this guy does is put his hand up and say no. I won't. You cannot catch me on camera. And they actually don't. They literally don't. He gets away. They're running up to him, asking a question. They're like, can we ask you a quick question? Why did you leave this comment on this woman's account? Why would you do this to her? And then what does he do? He goes home. He walks through the alleyway into his house, and they do not follow him. They don't come back. They don't ask him any more questions. They don't follow up with his account. He gets to leave. They're there filming him on camera, and the second he dips into the alleyway, they're like, he took the next plane out of town. He's gone by now. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to catch this guy ever again. That's so pathetic. You've been telling this lady for months that you're going to get justice for her, that you're going to end this harassment, that you're going to change the trajectory of her online life, and nothing happens. I mean, she sat face to face with this man who's been harassing her, that they think has been harassing her, right? You know, this person that, you know, they've done all this investigation and found that, you know, this is probably the person harassing you. They get there, slam door in your face, and you don't get to do anything. He literally just runs away and gets away with it. Trolls, you're gonna get away with it. It should be the name of the show, because almost every episode is like this. And the people they do confront and get face to face, they don't care. They're usually just laughing at them. They're face to face with these victims and they're like, that's you? Can I get a selfie? What? This is such a bad show. The execution is horrible. You can tell there's such a massive editing cut. Like, I'm going to do an editing cut to tell you how bad it is. But she's sitting there. Frankie's facing away. You can't see Frankie's face. So Frankie's there like this. Is that the result that you were looking for? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm happy with how the investigation turned out. What? So you're going and so you're just going to make her lie? You're going to obviously ask her another question off screen and then splice it over and make her just lie on camera to say that, oh yeah, I'm happy with how the investigation turned out. 1 second before she literally said, yeah, the investigation turned out kind of how I pictured it would happen, which is not good. So I guess she was fulfilled because, you know, she knew that this guy was going to get away and wasn't going to face consequences. And they just reaffirmed that for her. So thanks, Frankie. She literally ends it being like, well, I know that we're probably not going to end trolling forever just because that's too audacious. And trolling is definitely stuck on the internet. You know, trolling is here to stay whether I do this or not. But I hope people who are getting trolled feel better that, you know, maybe someday someone will come and protect them. It's not going to be me. She literally says that. She says, well, the only thing to fear is fear itself. So don't be afraid, okay? It's just Oromog them. It's okay. These guys are suboptimal. You can just Oromog them. Don't worry. It's kind of how the show ends. She's just like, Oromog your enemies. Enough said. What? That's it. And this is just the first episode. It doesn't have that many episodes, only 4 episodes. But each episode is like this. They kind of confront somebody halfway where they ask them some questions. They force an apology out of them, and then they just like string together the conversation with the abused person, and they're like, yeah, that was awesome. Frankie, you're so cool. And that's every episode. And Frankie gets to glaze herself and her career. You know, this is kind of just like a Frankie show. To be honest, it's kind of just like, oh, we have Frankie Bridges here, and she got her own show, hunting people who, you know, hated on her before. Just basically her super show talking about how, you know, the haters that talked about her at one point are worse off than her. You know, this is just like a big analogy for how awesome Frankie is, basically. Like, that's so crazy. And every episode is named after a celebrity, right? Because it's supposed to be celebrity trolls and, you know, whatever gets the viewers and whatever gets the rating in, you know, we all got to do it sometime. But you can't feature everyday people in the middle of the show. I mean, this is literally just clickbaiting. Not only does it clickbait, it just doesn't help anyone. This did not help anyone. It didn't help Chris. Chris is still probably depressed. It didn't help Nicola. They're probably still trolling her. It just gave the trolls the ability to be like, to collect their bounties and to be like, hey, what I'm doing actually works. I should probably keep doing it. Whenever I feel bad, I should probably troll somebody to know that they're probably feeling worse than me. What? That's it. Video over. Bye. I want to implement like a rating system just because that's fun. Didn't know that we were rating this the whole time, but now we're at the end of it and I'm rating it out of 10. Let's give this like a 4. Because the show is kind of long. It's not very engaging. It's British. And it doesn't help anyone. Everybody who ends up on the show just ends up getting more endangered by the end of the show, actually. So for public endangerment and being British, you get a 4. Yeah. All right. You can leave me recommendations on what to watch. Say how you like this video. And yeah, do the things. Do them again. Watch the video again. Eat again. Make a snack again. I don't know. Okay.